Going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Please enjoy a message from our sponsor, Tej Hanley. What's going on, babe?
Hey, babe, how was your day?
It was actually pretty productive. Happy to be home.
Good. You know, we got a game today. Honey, a little rough around the edges.
I'm saying, I've been working all night, taking care of business, getting to the. You know what? I don't even want to talk about it. I got you. I'm not trying to be out here looking like a dusty, and that's why I'm excited to have Tej Hanley as a sponsor of today's video. They help me start and maintain my skincare routine by making the entire process uncomplicated. Honestly, it's the best skincare system for guys like you and me. I recommend you start with their level 1 system, which come with all of the basics: a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin, a 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells, an AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun, and a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. My favorite part about Tej Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tej Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price and the ability to customize your box. And because Tej Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal. Just click the first link in the description. You'll get 30% off your first box plus a free gift. Click the link and get started today. We taking care of ourselves. Self-care, fellas, is the first step to be able to get to that bag, to take care of business, and be on top of things and level up in every aspect of your life. Feel the Tej, my friends. Are you guys feeling the Tej? I'm just wondering, are you guys feeling the Tej? Anton is definitely feeling the Tej. Had my barber come over right after we felt the Tej and got our Tej correct and taken care of. So listen, it is going to be a phenomenal show today. As usual, like it is every single day. Every day is awesome here on the Millionaire Morning Show, okay? So, what are we talking about today? We are going to revisit a conversation that I often have about how people are supposed to move when it comes to being successfully married. Yes, but we're going to explore every aspect of it. The financial aspect, we can't do it without doing the financial aspect of things, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have to deep dive into all of this. So before we get started, let me tap into all of my friends kicking it. I see y'all. They said Anton is doing his thing. Keep doing your thing, sir. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. We gonna continue to kick it. I got a flight today too. I gotta go in and out of Florida. I'm gonna be down there doing some business. I got a couple of different things I gotta take care of. I hope y'all tuned into Q&A last night on my other channel, my Anton Daniels channel. Lit. Mondays and Wednesdays Q&A is lit. We set everything on fire. I got some new stuff and some new shows that's coming for you guys. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Yes. We are taking over everything. The bag chasers are taking over everything. So first and foremost, I got to give a shout out to the bag chasers, right? I got a Patreon exclusive video coming this week, making the announcement on where we're going to link up for the Patreon exclusive meetup on the East Coast. Yes, we have an upcoming meeting for part 5 of building a business on probably Sunday. I'm going to say Sunday because, Anton going in and out and all of that other type of stuff. So we're going to be doing our thing. We got so much popping off, and I see y'all in the chat. I appreciate y'all. I'll rock with y'all. Well, good morning, Daryl. How you doing, my friend? Political scientist. What up, though? He already guessed in the city. Got Big Suggs popping off. My dog, Kojak. What up, KB? Rebuilding together. All of my friends is in here. Let me tell you. Look at that. Good morning, Rita. Rita always being in the chat. All of my friends is here. I got Alina, I got Queen J, I got Beautiful Disaster, Jeremy Clay, and Mills. All of y'all is in here. What up, though? What's up, my friends? Sabrina. All of my beautiful people are in here kicking it with me today. So let me give y'all a little bit of insight of what we're going to do today. We're going to get right to it because there's an extensive conversation that I want to have. And I want to frame this conversation by first giving y'all some insight on exactly who it is that you're going to be talking to and why you need to subscribe to their channel. Who it is that you need to be talking to and why you need to be subscribed to their channel. Now, I took a little bit of a pivot, right? I took a little bit of a pivot. Before we get into that pivot, let me just let you know again. Teej Hanley, 30% off your first order plus a free gift. That link is in the description. Make sure you tap into Teej. They've been supporting us for a long time on this channel. Thank you to our sponsors, and we got new sponsors coming in next week. Okay? That's A. B, Bag Chasers. You missed the best day to get into the Patreon, okay? The best day to get into the Patreon was the first day of the month, which was yesterday. But I got news for you. The second best day to get into the Patreon is the second day of the month. If you are not aligned with a group of people that's going in the direction that you're supposed to be going in addition to getting all of the game, all of the millionaire game, all of the discounts, all of the everything, Patreon meetup, that's in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Make sure you join the Patreon today. Stop wasting time and wasting your life and keep putting it off and unlock all of the different things that's going to change your perspective about money, relationships, networking, so on and so forth. If you need to kick it with me personally, send me an email. AntonDaniels.com is my website. You can click the email link and then it'll open up your email client. Or you can just send it to AntonDaniels413@gmail.com and then my assistant is going to get to you or Rita or the assistant. It just depends. So let me give y'all a little bit of a preview of exactly how it is that I've discovered this phenomenal person that you need to be subscribed to. All of her information, her YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of that is in the description, right? But let me give you a little bit of insight on how I discovered her. Somebody sent me a clip of her, and then I didn't realize that it was somebody that I'm already rocking with, Just Pearly Things. If y'all know her, y'all know her. If you don't, I'm sure you will eventually because she's absolutely awesome also. But they sent me this clip and I said, oh man, I got to react to it. I got to react to this one. If I don't react to any other clip, I'm going to react to this one. So I'm going to play it for you guys really quickly. And then I want to get into a conversation and a deep dive because there's so much to unpack about this person. So let me show you the clip really quickly. All right. So this is what I discovered. And then I said, okay, I got to talk to this girl. So this is the clip that broke the internet recently, went viral, and I want you guys to hear it.
Okay, Allie, show me your ring.
Oh, here.
Now, tell me what you do for a living.
Oh, I love my husband.
And how did you get that awesome job?
Well, I became a better human being, and I became feminine and also shocking, submissive. So that was the secret.
So what are your tips to women that want to be a housewife?
To embrace it. It's an actual job. You just can't get it in the public or private sector. Like you need a man to hire you for it, but that's okay. Because if you think about it, you submit to your boss who makes you clean stupid shelves at your retail job, right? Like, wouldn't it be better if you were cleaning your own shelves at home? You know what I mean? And your boss wants to sleep with you in a good way. In a good way.
And where do you meet these men?
Well, I
gonna
think
enjoy this
women
conversation.
should work for the men that they want to pursue. I know that sounds crazy, but it's really easy. So if you think about it, like you want a lawyer, right? So then you should be a paralegal, or if you want a dentist, then you should be a dental hygienist. But these are considered, I guess, high value status professions. But I think that's a really good model that not enough women utilize. Because women will bully the woman who is the secretary that marries the doctor, okay? But who has the last laugh? Like her in her McMansion with her husband who's hot and the babies. Like that's who has the last laugh.
So now that you guys have some insight on why I seen this as such a unique opportunity to interact with and build a relationship with, and then also have a hopefully awesome conversation with this individual. Let me just go through a couple of super chats and then I'm gonna bring her up. All right. So shout out to Brian Glover, says, I joined a Patreon, got a one-on-one scheduled with you. I tried others. I'm putting faith that maybe you can be a guide. Been in business since 2016. I'm making a lot of moves, but I'm never too sure. I'm always double checking. Double check me. I always double check me. You have come to the right person, my friend. Shout out to Brian. Can we get a round of applause for the new bag chasers? All of the new bag chasers. Shout out to Queen J. She says, send some prayers up for me, y'all. Working on getting a second remote job, and I have an interview. Hashtag bag chasers. We love Queen J. She is family. Shout out to the King of Foods Network, part of the sponsorship next week. We appreciate all of the love and support. So, now, without further ado, I am going to bring up, I'm going to just call her A. I'm going to call her A because I'm an A, she's an A, but real femme sapien. I am going to bring her up and then we're going to have a phenomenal conversation. How are you doing, my love?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing absolutely awesome. So, you decided that you and Pearly Things, just Pearly Things, wanted to break the internet this week.
We did. We did. It was kind of unintentional. We were just in the back seat of an Uber, but that entire weekend we had a lot of conversations in the back of Ubers. So I'm sure we were providing some kind of entertainment for these people that they weren't asking for.
Oh my goodness. All right. So. All right. So much to unpack here. Before we get deep diving into Kevin Samuels and his impact on you, the Uber, breaking the internet and everything like that, I reacted to your video, but then I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. It's more to her that I need to deep dive and research into. But before I even get into that, like I'm not even going to unpack deep diving or anything like that. I would like for you to kind of give a foundation of who you are or tell your story as to how you've come to this space where you then broke the internet about basically being submissive or finding a high value man based off of everything that you described in the video.
Oh, it's kind of a long journey. I mean, to start off with, I wasn't attracting the kind of men that I wanted to attract. And if you're a single woman and you're not attracting the men that you want, well, basically you're attracting nobody. So that was kind of a clue into that. I had to work on a couple of things, and I'd already been improving my life since I was 19. That's when I joined the military. So I just took these baby steps along the way, but I noticed it wasn't quite enough for a romantic relationship. And part of the problem is that I'm a high IQ woman. So if you're a high IQ child, you get kind of groomed in a way, be a boss babe, go get the bag, get a career, don't worry about men. Men will find you later. And I found that I had a really good 4.0 GPA, but I wasn't getting the relationships that I wanted.
Wait a minute,
So
you
I
had a
ended up meeting my
4.0
fiance.
GPA?
I've always had a 4.0 GPA. I can do it in my sleep.
Wow. So wait a minute. I didn't know that you joined the military. I didn't know that you had a 4.0 GPA. All of this is news to me. And this is the way that I like it. And this is why I try to pull back from deep diving into people instead of just having a conversation with them, because I get to react to you in real time, with all of this new information. What made you join the military in the first place?
Oh, that was me kind of identifying that I didn't like my hometown. I didn't like the people around me. They weren't going to build me up. All they were going to do is knock me down. And my mom, for all the mistakes that she made growing up in a single motherhood home, she always drove the point home. If you're not going to go to college, then you need to join the military. So she taught me a really good work ethic. So that's what I did. I was trying to solve my socioeconomic status problem. And I did solve that. I've been financially stable since I was 19 years old.
Wow. Okay. So you joined the military. How do you think that impacted you? Did it impact you in hindsight, considering where you are now? Do you think that impacted you or influenced you in a positive way or a negative way?
It was both positive and negative. I would say in two regards. On one side, I got to understand men a lot more, and I got to hear the way that they talked. And so when I came across the manosphere content, I was like, okay, well, I've heard it before because I was in a combat arms unit, and I'm very familiar with locker room talk with men. And they're not always ill-intentioned with it. It's just there's something about men when they hang out with each other. They speak differently and they insult one another in ways that you as a woman, you're looking and you're like, oh, I can't believe he just said that. And they're still friends. So that was one aspect. The other side of it, though, was that I became a very masculine woman, because if you're a feminine woman in the Army, you're just going to get sexually harassed. It's kind of the name of the game there. And I also had to keep up with the men. And as best as I could. That was back when I thought that I could physically keep up with men. I came to find out that I could not. But that was a real believer time for me. So I was not, the ideal romantic partner. I knew how to lead very well. I knew how to get promoted. I'm a really good worker. Most women who are intelligent, beautiful, and single, they're probably really good workers, but they haven't figured out how to apply that same work ethic in a relationship. So that's how the military impacted me for sure. And it put me in proximity to men that I found attractive. And that's what I meant in
Mm.
my clip when I'm talking about, well, we should work for men. People took it as a subservient route. What I was trying to say is, hey, if you want a high value guy, a great place to meet him is at work. I feel like it's very simple. 1 + 1 = 2. Shoot your shot, get that job, and if it doesn't work out, get another job.
So, okay, so let me ask you your personal opinion, because I don't necessarily believe that women operate in their highest capacity as far as what they're truly here for in the military. Like, I'm just me personally, I'm just not sure. And I don't know enough about it to be able to make that assessment like clearly, right? But I talk to a lot of guys that are in the military. They on my panels, they on my late night live streams and all of that type of stuff. And the stuff that they describe to me and the things that they tell me, it just kind of put me in this space like, yo, I don't know if women should really be in that space. I mean, I think that people should be able to do whatever they want to do. But then
Mhm.
at the same time, is the environment really conducive for the type of women that men are saying that they want? What do you think about women and just being in the military in a general sense? Like, do you think that most women should join the military?
I don't think that women should join any branch or component besides National Guard, Air Force, and Navy. That's the only thing I think
Mm.
they should join. The reserves are kind of a joke. That doesn't seem like it's worthwhile to me. To be active duty, it's really hard on you. And this was a time where I was the second woman to show up to my medical platoon. So I was a combat medic specialist, but newsflash, United States government, I actually don't physically qualify for that position. There's no way I can pick up a guy.
Hmm.
But it poses a lot of co-ed issues. I'll say that there's so much drama in units. There's these units that are called, I believe, BSNs or BAS. I'm not familiar right now, but it's one of the most co-ed units that you have. It's a support battalion. So you got the men and you got the women. And of course, naturally, they kind of meet in the middle and things get kind of twisted. I was on deployment and I saw 2 women fighting over an NCO in real time. In real time.
Really?
Yes, and 2 of these broads were doing it. So no, I don't think it's optimal. I could say that it worked out for me, but for my relationship, because my husband is currently active duty and he's an officer, I at least relate to his work stress. I can empathize in that way. So that's a plus. But for most women out there, I don't think so. And then there's also this added issue: women who haven't had freedom before, they're very physically attractive. A barracks bunny stereotype exists for a reason. And I've seen a few. So those are my sentiments on women being in the military, aside from the fact that we're not really physically qualified for the high physical intensity jobs. We can do desk work. That's easy. Be a desk jockey. But some women want to be hard charging. That I wanted to be hard charging. I thought that I could do way more physically. I ended up hurting myself. So not the move.
So let me pivot really quickly because I want to share your channel, right? And I want to share your Instagram because I think that as we deep dive into these conversations and
Mhm.
you continue to, share with us who you are, what your journey is, and what your thoughts are, I think that they'll be interested in, making sure that they subscribe to you and everything like that. But I also want to share some of your posts, if that's cool.
Mhm.
All right.
Of
So
course, yeah.
I'm gonna go to your Instagram. Hold on one second. Let me pull us up. All right, let me get us up here. So I'm gonna make us a little bit bigger, just a little bit. But this is her channel. It's called Real Femme Sapien, and she's dope. I've been looking at a lot of her content, and it's absolutely awesome. She obviously she has a live stream that she does on a regular basis, and she talks about being a housewife. And one of the ones that I found more interesting is, can she take your man? Um, that was an interesting one that I looked at. But I also want to share with them your Instagram, right? And so
Oh,
here's
thank
your
you.
Instagram, and it's called Real Femme Sapien. where she goes over and she shares a lot of her different clips. But as I was scrolling through a lot of your content, one really, really stuck out for me. And let me see where it is. Is it the older one? I think it was the one where you shared your journey from being like goth. Am I going too far? Am I going too far?
No, it was my thoughts on what feminism did to me because I was never really a feminist. I can't find the post right now. It's
Oh
a very
man.
edited one where I look miserable on the front. So if you find that one, there
Where
you
you look
go.
miserable on the front? All right, so let me see if I can find it.
hmm Well, because the only thing that ever happened to me was that I was just a frumpy woman. I didn't know that I was average. I was average at best. Nobody told me. Nobody told me. Yeah,
Because
I
you
think it's
got
like way down there.
like you share a
Oh,
lot of
up
stuff
there.
about your husband. Oh, here it is.
hmm
Here it is.
Yep, there you go.
All right, so and so you were saying that 2016 and before. So this is you. What do you think about this when you look at this?
I wanted to pull off short hair. I was actually pretty buff at that time, pretty muscular, and having short hair kind of makes you stay in the gym because it's a hard thing to pull off. So I looked good, but not like this. Not like this. And I look much better with longer hair, but I had had short hair for years. Since I was 15 years old, I had short hair. And I just wasn't familiar with, oh, well, I should probably grow this out and maybe I would look more feminine. And I did, and I do, and I like it. And I would never get a pixie cut again. Like, you could not pay me to do that.
You this is like the feminist starter kit right here.
Oh, facts. Yes.
And then you gave up on looks entirely. What's going on here? You got the dog, you got everything. What's happening right here?
Oh man. So I was in a long-term relationship for about 5 years and it just wasn't conducive to the woman that I wanted to be. But I didn't know. I was really young. So I was a very feminine, I was a masculine woman by force. It wasn't a position I wanted to be in. And then the other person I would argue probably wasn't very much in their masculine. So it's like if you're constantly coming home to a lump on a log, well, why would I even try for my looks? And I find that that's a lot different now like my husband's constantly chasing me around the house. He just looks at me and I'm like, oh, I want to go to the gym right now. I'm going to the gym right now. I can't wait. So I just gave up. I wasn't happy. And that's
Mm.
another reason why I ended up making my platform is that I know other women just don't have the insights. For example, if you look through on the Instagram too, I was fat in high school and nobody told me.
Really?
And so yeah, no one told me. Well, I think I had an ex-boyfriend mention it one time. But aside from that, it's pretty standard and the norm. So I'm Puerto Rican, and that's one reason why I ended up latching onto Kim Samuel's content. It's because a lot of it is very similar to the problems that are going on in the Puerto Rican community. And I mean, we'll be
Wait.
friends.
Stop there. Stop there. I
Yeah.
like that you
Okay.
said that because one of the things that I tell people on a regular basis is
Mhm.
that the problems that we see happening as far as what men are complaining about or what men are highlighting that are issues as far as how they feel about women or the type of woman that's presenting themselves today is not just in one community. It's in a
Mhm.
lot of different communities. And so you illustrating that, yo, this is in the Puerto Rican community. Can you go ahead and like tackle that for me really quickly?
Oh
Then we'll
man,
come
well
back to
it's
that,
not.
this whole picture thing.
I promise y'all it's not that different from the black community. It's the only thing that's different is the skin tone, and that's sometimes because I got people in my family. Basically, if you're Puerto Rican, you can be Spaniard, blonde haired, blue eyes, or you could literally be African dark, right? So we have like this entire spectrum. And just I was raised by New Yorkers, right? So not just Puerto Ricans, but Puerto Ricans from New York City. And
Oh,
women from that area, you can't get them to be feminine or submissive at all. And they make a lot of mistakes in the dating market, and the children are affected. And I'm a high IQ child, so I'd be looking, I'm like, why do you keep doing this? This is not fun for me. This certainly can't be fun for you as the woman. And that's why I ended up listening to his content because a lot of that domineering, that aggressive, that very much narcissistic attitude. Well, it's about me. It's about the bag. You can't trust a man. It's fear, scarcity, and lack. And so that was something that I saw transferred in my culture that I took all of his lessons to heart. I really did. I really did. And I wasn't that far gone. And don't get me wrong, I think for most women, they would have been really offended by the stuff that he said. But I'm a goal oriented person. I knew what I wanted, and I'm not gonna front. I wanted to be Becky Housewives. Unfortunately, I have tattoos, so it's like a little bit different. But
Yeah, I
I
had
did my
noticed that in your
research.
video. Well, hold on,
Oh
wait.
yeah.
Before we go there, hold on. So let me pivot. So then you got some transitions that you made, and then you got the 2020 picture. What do you think about when you see this?
I looked really pretty, right? My
Yeah, you
makeup was
do.
done, my hair was nice, and I was going to parties, but I hated partying. And I think that's a common misconception is that a lot of people think that a woman that's partying, she's having a great time, is actually miserable. I would always go to a corner. I'm like, why am I even here? But I didn't really understand at the time that you have to make an honest effort to do wholesome things with girls. And a lot of the times they're going to say no. It's actually really hard to get your girlfriends to go bowling with you or to go hiking. They would much rather go out to eat, eat probably too many calories. They'd much rather go to a bar. So I ended up, just thinking to myself, well, if I hate it, why do I keep doing it? So I haven't been to a party in 2 years. I don't think.
Wow.
I'll go to a family party, but I won't go to anything at college. So that was where that was coming from. And it also makes you fat. It makes you fat constantly drinking, especially the fruity drinks and the beer. Like, I'd rather stay home.
All right, so let me go to the last one. I think this is the last one. And this is you pretty much today.
Yeah, I would say so.
What does this picture say to you when you look at it? Do you look at your old photos or stuff like that you post on Instagram and stuff like that?
I try not to because sometimes I get really upset about the things that I've done in my life. And the reality is just you look, not everybody comes from a two-parent, well-rounded household. A lot of people go through things. And I find that I probably take too much accountability. And that's kind of an issue that I've discussed in my marriage where my husband's like, you're kind of like really hard on yourself. Have you looked at your progress? So I try not to look too much. But when I do, I'm really happy with where I am in my life. And I'm really glad that I did the work, and I'm really glad that I got to marry my first choice in a man. And I'm just excited. We just bought a house. We're closing in 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll get some babies in there next year. It's a good
Yeah.
way to live.
I hear
And
you.
I'm glad I did it young.
Yeah. You're trying to get them babies up. And how many kids you want?
I want 5, but he's 50, so I feel kind of bad. I think
He's
I
what?
should cap it at. So my husband's 50, so I think it might be a little bit cruel if we had 5 babies. So I'm gonna shoot for
Wait.
3.
Hey. Hold on. Wait. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? You don't listen.
No, it's
Let
not
me preface
offensive.
this by saying that you don't have to answer anything that you don't want to answer.
Hmm.
How old are you?
That's fine. I'm pretty much an open book. So I'm 27 years old.
So you 27.
Hmm.
You got you an older guy.
Hmm.
What made you go for the older guy? What made you say, okay, I'm rocking with this guy?
To be honest, I got tired of millennial men. I kept trying to help them build, trying to be a support network, and they weren't doing nothing with it. They were not doing anything with my support. I was like, forget this. I'm just going to bypass it. I'm going to go older. I'm done. Because, if you meet a guy around that age, his career is already established. Now, it's a little bit tricky because not every guy that is that age is in the market for marriage though. So
Okay.
women do have to be mindful of that. They should be upfront with their desires. But also my husband's very physically fit and he's very accomplished. I'm a badge bunny. I really like men in uniform, so that's like something that I'm
Okay.
like, yes, this guy's awesome. But I don't think I would be into your average 50-year-old man. They're not healthy, right?
Yeah.
My husband's healthier than most 35-year-old men.
He's you said he's active as
Hmm.
far as being in a, well, I don't know what branch. I'm guessing the military or something like that, right? But
Army.
he's
Hmm.
he's an officer in the army.
Hmm.
Okay. What how do you balance, and I'm assuming that his schedule is probably a lot more or a lot busier than normal, right? How do you balance
Hmm.
that? How do you balance the quality time or the request for quality time versus what his requirements are as far as from what his job or what his business is asking from him?
So he works, I want to say he leaves the house often at 7:15, so he's waking up at 6:30, and some days I won't see him until 6 p.m. Some days I won't see him until 5. Sometimes I get lucky and he'll come home at 3. And there's other pluses too. We get 4-day weekends. But for the most part, I just try to fill my day with activities. I try to take care of the house first, but then I also get to explore my passions and I try to help other women. And that's how I ended up having a YouTube channel in the first place. I do it because it makes me happy. I don't think my husband really cares if I make money. I think if I wanted to stay home and make candles, I think he'd be fine with that. But that's the power of being a housewife, having that feminine, soft power where you can do whatever you want with your schedule. And it makes me feel honestly really cherished. I love that. And I don't mean to, gas my husband up or nothing like that. But when I take a nap, I'm like, dang, this nap is on him. It's
Yeah,
free.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to live. I know that it won't be as simple as I have it right now, being the fact that I don't have kids. But once I have kids, even then, I'm pretty sure I can work out a schedule. I'm in the Midwest, so I actually know a lot of stay-at-home moms. Most of them do work, but they work from home. They work low hours. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, to be honest. Again, just because I know so many women who already do it, and I watch their kids regularly. I'm watching my girlfriend's kids after this today, so.
When you think, I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions in it before we get into the whole Kevin Samuels conversation, right? When you think of what your life was like, because there's a lot of women that say that they want a partner versus wanting a husband, right? Meaning that when I hear that, the first thing that comes to my mind is that they want to have to contribute to the finances in a household in order to make sure that they have an equal say or whatever like that. They don't necessarily want to operate in gender roles traditionally, right? I get it, or my interpretation of it a lot of times is they want to have some say so. But, well, okay. Before I ask my second question, what do you think about that whole idea of women that want a partner versus what your experience is on both sides of it? You operating, joining the military, and then now you in a space where you saying, "Yo, my nap is on him." What is that? What is that like? What would you say to that?
I was just willing to take the risk. I like to live my life high risk, high reward because I started depending on my husband when I was his fiance. So that is some kind of a risk for a woman. It's still, I like to think knowing the family courts and also just, being around the block, he assumed primary financial risk. And I knew that, but it was a lot of heckling from the girls around me at my retail job that I had. They were telling
Okay.
me, "You sure you want to do that? You sure you don't want to stay part-time?" And I'm
Really?
listening to Kevin Samuel's content. Yes, yeah. That's the biggest reason why some women aren't staying home is probably because they're scared of the backlash from their girlfriends or they haven't had the idea. But I was listening to Kevin's content. I was like, well, that's fear, scarcity, and lack because everybody tells you, what if he leaves you? What if he uses you? But nobody says, well, what if he loves you? What if he makes good on his promises? But my husband was a very honest man, so I could take the things that he said seriously. We had a conversation about, possibly me staying home. He's like, all right, lady, you get to audition. If you suck at this, you're going back to work. I was like,
Right,
okay, all
right.
right, because I had to do a little bit of on the job training. But I ended up really enjoying it. And I think that women just don't often have men worth taking that risk for. Or if they do and they don't take the risk, I mean, they're just delusional. They're never going to be happy in a relationship. If you have a strong, competent, masculine leader, of course you're going to say, yeah, well, okay, if you say it's that easy to quit my job, I'll try it out. Why not?
Let me back up for a little bit. See, every time, and this is why I like having authentic conversations because when you talk or when you say things, um, it starts to mine for more questions based off of some of the things that you say. Um, what about your family structure, right? Because the one thing that I'm curious about is how you were raised in a general sense. Was it like in a two-parent
Mhm.
household? Was it like, what is that? What was that like?
Anton, it was ghetto. It was so ghetto. Oh, no, it was hell. It was hell. I didn't like that. I can't. So here's the thing, and it's not to dog on the women in my family or anything like that, but if I had stayed on that path, I would have been third generation, probably single mother. honestly, because I
Ah,
really want to be a mom. So I grew up in a lower socioeconomic status from being in a single mother home. My father, I know of him. I've talked to him a few times. I really don't want to socialize with him. So that's something that I've kind of never really had sort of a frame of reference on. And I raised myself a lot because if you think about it, and this is why I think sometimes single mothers are just selfish. Like you really have to think about the kids. My mom had to work a lot to the point where I never even got to learn Spanish, and I also had to raise myself. So at 7 years old, I was cooking for myself, doing my own laundry, walking
sheesh.
myself home from school. Yeah, that's what in the 70s, I think in the 80s too, is called a latchkey kid. So that's what I
Yeah.
was. But it really left me with a lot of what I think would be social deficits that had I just been around a family, I wouldn't have had so many issues. And that's just the tip of the iceberg there. So a lot of the risk factors that are associated with being in a single mother home, I experienced. And that's why I'm very vocal on my platform about establishing a two-parent household
Yep.
because it reduces the risk of child abuse by half. And I'm not going to stop talking about it. The science is on my side. I know what I'm doing. If I can just help women to get married and stay married, I think we can really get through to these kids.
No, I mean that's a fact that children that are raised in two-parent households have less dependency issues. They're less likely to go to jail. They're less likely to be single mothers. Or
Hmm.
like it's so many benefits that people like to dispute, but you can't argue with the data. You can't argue with the data. So that's good on you, and it's very interesting. And I wanted to know that not only because there's so many talking points about how women are raised, how that affects who they are when they become adults, as far as their ability or inability to be able to get the men that they want. But my wife,
Hmm.
similar situation to you, in that she was raised in a single mother household. Her mother, her grandmother was all in the household and all of that, and then she has a similar story to you, minus the military, of course.
Hmm.
So it is possible to break that cycle and to break that curse, and you don't have to, if you are a woman that are raised in these conditions, subject yourself to, for the rest of your life, this mindset that you grew up in that
Hmm.
affects what's going to happen to you for the rest of your life, or who it is that you're going to interact with, or who you're going to marry, and all of that. But let me ask you another question, because I found
Hmm.
it very, very refreshing and interesting. And that some of the decisions, because we've been talking for a little while now, right?
Yeah.
Before you ever came on here,
Hmm.
but some of the decisions, some of them you're like, yeah, yeah, it's on, or whatever, so on and so forth, whatever. And then other decisions you like, well, hold on, let me check with my husband. Hold on, my husband has to figure this out. Hold on, my husband. You
Hmm.
defer a lot, especially with the big decisions, despite being a 4.0 student, despite being high IQ, despite being very intelligent, despite being raised in an environment where you were able to experience life and understand what's really out here. You still defer to your husband, especially with dealing with me or dealing with men, or major
Hmm.
decisions with regard to me. You still defer to him. Why is that?
He's a really good leader. And honestly, some of it is respect, and some of it's just because he's better at leading me than I am at leading myself. Women, we're ruled by our emotions. I'm a fairly logical woman, but I get burned a lot just straight up from my feelings. I'm like, oh, I feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for. Let me go help them. Let me go help them. And then I end up looking silly at the end of the day. So if I can't get a read on someone's character, I do defer to my husband. But my husband vets all the men that I work with if I'm doing a YouTube collaboration because I have to talk to you and he's not going to be here. He's going to be at work. He
Yep.
might as well know who I'm talking to, what they're about, or he can tell me, I think that's a really bad move for your brand. You should not have a conversation with this person. It's going to be a negative outcome for you. But I don't think that is. It's kind of a new concept to me. I haven't done it before with other men, but my husband genuinely has my best interest and my safety at heart. He lives for it. He loves being in that conventional gender role of being the man, the provider, and the protector. And I think that he gets a little kick out of it too. He's like, actually, let me go find out. I'm gonna go look right now. I got you, honey.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, we have these conversations a lot. And I tell people that provision and protection comes in a lot of different forms. It's
Hmm.
not just, oh man, somebody is running over there and they, with a gun, and are you going to man up? And it's the decisions that you make on a daily basis. And men protect women from themselves, or the idea of being a protector sometimes, because I believe that women have special talents and gifts that allow for them to be able to do special things in society, like their ability to nurture, right? That's something, in my opinion, that women just have. Their ability to nurture, or their ability to be able to research certain situations based off of the femininity that they carry within themselves. And then the same thing conversely with men. I believe that men have a certain natural instinct within them to add value into a relationship that women just don't carry. And so when I seen you do that, it just kind of made me laugh a little bit, and I chuckled a little bit, because I do the same thing for my wife. I do not let her just go out and do anything, because sometimes her intentions are great, but it's not the best situation for her. So to see that happen, I said, I got to talk about this, and I got to bring this up because I think that it's a good talking point. So
No, I'm happy to share it. And that's why I get a little bit of heat on my channel, because what I'm telling women is to pursue above average dating. But honestly, I think that's the only way that you can stay married, is if you marry your first choice. All the women I know that end up divorced, they married their second choice, whether they knew it or not, or they don't have that genuine physical desire as well. And that's the thing about it. Like, most women are not going to be able to get the men that they want. But for those of you that would like to put in the effort and compete, because competition is not a bad word, that's what my channel's for. Like, I'm not here for average dating. That doesn't make any sense to me. I go to Walmart. I've seen average. No disrespect. It makes the world go round. That's amazing. But like, is that what I would recommend to my daughter, my kids? No, I'm trying to get these women to win. But if we get enough women that they're really coming into their feminine and they're saying, yeah, actually, I would prefer masculine man, maybe other young men will get on board and start embracing their masculinity. Because I see that as a problem with millennial and Gen Z men. It's not to say that men aren't good enough. Okay, like, we did this to them. Yeah. We did this to men as women. We're raising the men. We're telling them to be more feminine. It's a problem that we've created. But yeah, I recently graduated college, undergrad. You'll see the most handsome young men. They can be physically fit, and they still don't command presence. They don't have confidence, or they keep deferring to women. And that's not sexy. It's just not. So hopefully we can get some good work going here.
Yeah, you did a video. I don't know if it was a live stream or a video where you were talking about how masculine men are sexy.
They are, but I didn't know for years.
So let me pivot, right? Because I want to come back to your content. But the first thing that I want to do is, when I did the initial review of your video, and obviously I didn't have any background information like I do now, or I haven't talked to you before did a review of your video. What I found is two things. The first thing that I found is that the hyenas, the feminists, they were on your head. They were coming after you. How do you deal with pushback and blowback that comes from people that oppose your quote unquote traditional views, and they shun it for more modern feminism and ways in which women are thinking today?
Well, I think I have some pretty good reasoning behind the whole traditional. I'm not a traditional woman. I'm just going to keep it a stack. It's not like I was married a virgin. It's not like I lived like this, righteous life. And a lot of that just has to do with the risk factors that I had. I mean, people are out here expecting women to act right when we ain't got a father. I'm like, I tried. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But what I will say, and this is because I think traditionally conservative women think that they're above liberal women. I don't think so, because if you look at their actual behaviors, they're pretty similar. But what you will notice when it comes to what people would say traditional or conservative women is that we overtly care how men see us. We care about being physically attractive to men. We will be thin. We will do our hair. We'll do our makeup. We'll wear a dress. Whereas on the liberal side of things, they could care less. But at the end of the day, they're still pursuing masculine men. So what's really here at the center is what I would call conventional gender roles, because liberal women also, they leave the workforce to stay home as well. So I kind of work from that reasoning and that framework. When I get pushback, I'm like, 1, we're not that different. 2, you probably want the same thing that I have. 3, majority of the time it's a projection, and I'll go and I'll look at these women's profiles just to see.
You petty.
Is there a man? Is there a man?
You are petty.
Of course, because sometimes you have really good discourse, and I try to have these conversations, And other times you go look, you're like, ma'am, you got no ground to stand on. Why are you grilling me? If you had a man, you wouldn't have time to do this.
You know that as you get bigger, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to have the capacity, because I'm sure you don't even have the capacity now. But as you
No, I
continue to
don't.
grow, when you get bigger, and I see you in just Pearly Things traveling, and y'all doing valuetainment, y'all doing a lot of big things, right? As you grow and your platform grow, you know the hyenas are going to get louder because there's going to be more of them, right? You're going to have more people that love you and then more people that oppose you.
Right.
How do you think that, like, how are you going to handle that? How do you deal with that?
Well,
Like, how do
eventually
you
it's just
stay
going
in
to
a
be.
good mental space
Mhm.
considering, because I mean, you are a woman, so I know that you could possibly get affected by if somebody just come at you and say something crazy. How do you deal with
Mhm.
that?
I mostly just lean on my husband. My husband gives me mentorship regularly. That's the cool thing about being with an older man too. It's like life lessons from half a century. Like,
Yeah.
please drop the knowledge on me. So he just talks to me and reinforces what the truth is. The truth is that oftentimes when people insult other people, it's a projection. But for me, I think I'm still a little bit naive. I'm still very shocked at like the level of misinterpretation, because you would tell a woman, "Oh, why don't you get married?" And then they'll respond to you, "So you think women should be slaves?" I'm like, how we got from point A to point Z. Like, I wasn't. So that I'm still coming to grips with. So for TikTok, it's really good content if you respond to the hate comments. However, everywhere else, it's kind of like the law of diminishing returns. There's just too much for me to respond to, because I could make them all look silly. It's not hard. It's not hard to approach people with logic and be like, just so you know, you kind of look like a moron. But that's not always the best light to be perceived in. So I lean on my husband. I understand that there's too much for me to respond to, and that I don't need to respond to everything, and that I just need to stay focused on my content and the message. Because if I pay too much mind to that, it's really going to affect my self-esteem a little bit. It's actually, I think I'm handling it better than I expected. A lot better than I expected, because when you know your truth, you look at the phone, you're like, this is not reality. No,
Yeah,
this person doesn't know
yeah.
anything about me.
So what about, okay, so the second thing that caught my eye was, I dropped the video and then people immediately start sending me emails and messages. Oh, no, 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 she's dope. She's dope because um which I agreed with a lot of what you said in the video, but they were like, "Oh, no, 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 that's the homie. Kevin Samuels actually impacted her in a positive way."
Mhm.
So, tell me how you got turned on to the whole Kevin Samuels thing.
I think it was just down to timing. Obviously, he went viral, and I liked the manosphere, the red pill, just like men's improvement spaces content, because I wanted to understand men more in general. I think it's a skill that women need to have. You don't get to control if you have a son or a daughter, so you better get with the program. You better figure out what these men are dealing with. Also, you have husbands, uncles, fathers. So that was just something that I knew that I was interested in, and I started taking in the content, and often it would be really good life advice. And I'm a female listener. I'm like, wow, I think the men are making some sense. I'm pretty sure if I did some of the things that they're saying to do, that I could get some different outcomes in life. Because you have to think, I think it's sad that I have to get male mentorship from the internet, but I don't have a father. So at
Yeah.
least it's there, at least it's available, and I have something like that. But that was when I came across Kevin's content, I was at a crossroads in my life. I was in the middle of undergrad, and I'm really smart, and I kept thinking, I have to get a PhD. I really need a PhD for me to matter in this world.
The PhD.
Yeah, I thought to be important and to matter that I had to go out and get that. And I was spending money on the exams. And normally, if I spend money on something, I go out and do it. But for some reason, with these exams, it just wasn't happening. But I went to college a little bit later in life. And for college, I was like
Yeah.
25, or, So I just basically decided, you know what? Like, F it. I don't need this PhD. I can figure out another way to make money. I can do that in the private or public sector. And also, I want to be a homemaker, and I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And my husband had these conversations with me. And that's a fun little detail that people don't often realize, is that we did not mean to end up in conventional gender roles. My husband thought he wanted an independent boss babe PhD
Really?
physicist triathlete. Yeah, he really did. He did.
That is interesting. So, what made him switch? Like, what made him move over into not wanting that, but wanting what essentially is almost the complete opposite
Mhm.
from a boss chick, but a girl that actually leans on him, depends on him, seeks his guidance and his insight, and then is ready to really be able to do whatever it takes to, make the relationship awesome.
I would say that we tried it out. So is this a good time to get into the Kevin Samuels call?
Yeah, we can get into it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sure. So,
Listen, I'm just the guest. This is your show.
okay. Thank you. That's very kind of you. So I wanted to get my husband. I think he was my boyfriend at the time. I don't think he had proposed yet. I can't remember. That part is not all too important. But I called Kevin's show to figure out what kind of gift to get him because he out earned me. And I was like, well, he can buy whatever he wants. So what am I going to get him? And then Kevin was like, are you married? Do you want kids? How old is this man? He went in there with a surgical scalpel. I got my behind handed to me. I was like, I don't know. He couldn't tell me what kind of cigar to get. He just wasn't having it. So he basically was pointing out, that's an older man. Older men are not typically in the game to get married. You might be being used. You would need to either leave him or do something about it. And I got off the call. He's very upset. Very upset. He's like,
you were bothered by it? Because all you wanted to know was what kind of cigar to get him. And then oh my God. That's Kev.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was really funny. So my husband, I think he was my boyfriend at the time, he got really mad because he basically came to me. He was like, if you wanted to get married, why didn't you just say so? Why'd you have to tell 800,000 people? And then I was like, I could have asked for marriage the whole time. The whole time. And he's looking at me like, yes, dummy. The whole time you could have said something. I was like, okay, all right, fair point. And so we ended up having more of those conversations. We went to couples counseling. We got back on the same page. And then there came a point in time where, I realized I wanted to stay home, but we weren't married. And I thought that was a big ask to make of my husband. But at the same time, I started to realize the worth that I had as a woman, what I actually bring to the table, which is quite a bit, in my opinion. I could rattle off at any point in time. And I was like, look, why won't you marry me? A millionaire would marry me. Why won't you? And he told me, he said they would marry you, but as soon as they got to know you, they would send you right back. So then we had to have another conversation.
Wait. Back up. Say that one more time.
Mm-hmm. He told me that a millionaire would marry me, but once he got to know me, he would send me right back.
Girl, you was getting sliced and diced all up and down. All right, so yeah. How did that impact you? What were you thinking after you had that conversation?
Well,
you were getting a lot of hard truths.
I guess it had to happen. It turned out to be a good thing in the end. So I got a little bit upset because my husband doesn't lie, so I knew he was being honest. I was like, he might be saying something that makes sense right now. I was like, fine. So I asked him, okay, well, what kind of wife are you looking for? And he dropped the list on me. He gave me tasks. He gave me objectives. I was like, understood. I'm going to get on this page tomorrow, ASAP. You got it. Say less. And so I went to work. I went to wife school, honestly. He taught me how to make the things that he wanted, the way that he wanted them. He helped to put me on a schedule. Because there's no homemakers besides my grandmother in the family. So I just didn't know. And we figured it out together. We had our little IKEA marriage. And I'm very happy that we did it. And he's also a lot happier too. What's something that doesn't get talked about in men's improvement spaces? It's like marriage is a bad word. Mm-hmm. But my husband has been a lot more affectionate since we got married. Like there's something different about me and me being his wife, him being my husband, where he's like, I like this a lot more. But you wouldn't think so because he was a bachelor for 48 years.
Yeah, but y'all change us.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I tell people all the time is that the power that women have has nothing to do with anything outside of who they inherently are, which is your femininity. And we'll pay attention, we'll evolve, but it's not about how loud you say it. And I even have conversations with people when I coach them a lot of times, and I say, communication is more than just what's being said. It's how it's said. It's 90% body language. It's how you move when you're around me. You can say anything to anybody if you say it the right way, so on and so forth. But a lot of women don't get that. They don't catch it. And I don't know if it's as a result of how they were raised or the people that they surround themselves by. which is really unique for me to be hearing you say this, considering that people act like the way that my wife act around me is an anomaly. Do you get called an anomaly? Do you get called something that's just, oh wait, this type of woman don't exist? She understood the assignment. He gave her a list and she didn't bug back. She didn't say, oh well, you need to do this. You just said, yo, okay, well, I'm about to make sure and take care of this tomorrow. Do you get labeled
Oh.
like an anomaly or some kind of outer space alien that then moved or something like that outside of the hyenas and the clacking hens coming at you?
Oh, you'd be surprised how many young men are upset with me too. We'll probably get into
Really?
that at some
Wait,
point.
wait a minute. What?
Oh yeah. They're very angry with me. Yeah.
Young guys are angry with you? Why?
So both men and women don't like being objectified, and but we naturally objectify each other. That's just what we do. Men are success objects, women are sex objects. Women don't like being sexually objectified, and they push back, right? But men don't like being objectified in terms of their resources. And so these young men, this is what I mean by it's always a projection. They are 20 years old, they're
Mhm.
broke, they can't get a housewife. So they're very resentful, or sometimes they'll tell me that, and if you're broke, just say that. Like, sir, you really don't understand. Like, why don't you go meet some high value men, and then you'll figure out what I'm doing here. So they lash out quite a bit, and that's how I know the dating market has to be ridiculous, because it's these same angry men. They're mad at me. They want these 50-50 relationships. Well, those don't tend to work. I mean,
Wow.
or at least their sex lives are awful. I don't know which way to say
Do
that.
you think that okay, all right. So you just threw something into the mix that like it's got my head spinning a little bit because
Mhm.
guys often will say what they want, but then they don't get the feedback that you're giving as far as a woman that's successfully married and you got what you wanted and you listen to the advice and whatever and you move the way that men say that women should move, but then you're
Mhm.
still getting pushback from men. I like to call them
Mhm.
modern men, from modern men that still don't like how you move.
Mhm.
That's crazy to me.
It is crazy, but they don't have fathers. Again, can we please get some daddies back in the home? Like, I don't think it's that hard, sis. Like, I'm just saying, I don't think so. But for these young men, they don't realize that they're not going to hit their financial stride if they're hard charging until their late 40s. There's just not a lot of wealthy young men around. And the ones that are, I mean, you as a woman, you have to be competing with race car models. I don't know about these other broads, but I like to eat some snacks. So that was never on the menu for me.
But you pretty fit though.
I am. I am. Don't get me wrong. Like, I do look good. I care about my body for my husband, but also for myself. Most of the time, my husband even tells me if I'm gaining weight, it's because it affects my self-esteem long before it bothers him. It starts to bother me. So he's just very proactive. He's like, hey, like, just so you know, I love
Yeah.
you. Getting a little bit chunky. Don't want you crying next week. I was like, okay,
So
thanks.
he's very blunt, direct, matter of fact. He tells you straight up what it is.
Hmm. Yes, but that's what I need and that's what I'm looking for, because whenever I get honest feedback, I get to live a better life. That was one of the bonuses of being in the military, was that I had access to male mentorship, and they're attractive men, so they had their fill of women. So like looking at me, they're like, who cares about her? So they were able to just have those one-on-one conversations. I would ask them, how do you buy a house? How do you flip property? What's your approach to marriage? What's your approach to Christianity? And they would just give me these life lessons. So I want that directness, because otherwise I'm going to be miserable because I'm not going to get the results that I need.
Mm. So as you continue to create content, you have these conversations and you're going to continue to go viral, right? What are your expectations? What do you think is going to happen going forward? Not necessarily for yourself, but in society in general. Like I see people, they tell me all the time and I give them insight on what it takes to be successfully married, so on and so forth. And they tell me all the time, well, Anton, I think these women are different. Right. And I know that you mentioned that, a lot of women don't have fathers, a lot of men don't have fathers, so on and so forth. If you had to guess, if somebody put a gun to your head right now and says, hey, you got to guess about what's going to happen with regard to relationships for most people in society today, what would you say?
I think that we're at a crux. I think both liberals and conservatives are fed up and tired of this wokeism. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're reaching a point of ridiculousness. I think we're realizing that women are being harmed more than they're being uplifted by these ideologies. And I think men are understanding that they're not getting the feminine women that they would like to come home to. So I think that there is a change. I think that there is a shift because I found the content. I found Rebecca's platform, I think
Yeah, I
before
like
she was
Rebecca. That's
5,000
dope.
subs.
Me and her is
Hmm.
cool. Rebecca Barrett.
Oh yeah, yeah, she's an absolute sweetheart. Also somebody that I look up to, right? So if I found her content and I found Security Boss Unsolicited, Chantel Simone, and then if I found the male
I like
improvement content
Chantel.
as
That's my
well,
girl.
hmm
Isn't it
so
funny
I
how
think
all of these
there's a change.
circles, we all are connected somehow, some way.
Hmm. But I think we actually want to make a dent out there, right? So I'm familiar with your content to a degree. I'm a little bit new here. I knew you were important enough to collab with, you know what I mean? But so what's your mission?
Well, is mine is a little bit different because I understand that I'm in a unique position because most content creators that are men on the internet, they are not telling you the truth. Well, let me pivot. They're not speaking from the perspective of a person that's been successfully married, right? So I'm 40, just turned 40 this year. I've been married for 18 years, right? And I got married when I was 22 years old, and my wife is very submissive. We live in a space to where I don't have the similar problems. Although I see it, I coach it, I talk to people every day. I actually go out and I network with people. I see it every day, but I don't have the problems that men today have. And so, from my perspective, I think that I impact things a little bit differently. I show people how important it is to be successful, to level up if you can, become a millionaire, and I give them the blueprint for that. But then at the same time, I also give them the blueprint on what it takes to be successfully married. So I'm not the guy that says happy wife, happy life. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that says, hey, you need to be a man, and the way that you move from a man's perspective will impact how she falls into her femininity. Similar to what you're saying, right? You like masculine men. You like men that tell the truth. Everything that you're saying, I don't think that there's one thing that you said today that I disagree with.
Oh, thank you.
So it's pretty interesting to hear you, speak from this perspective because it very much aligns with the things that I say that women should be like. I'm an equal accountability partner. So I just tell people how it is across the board, how women should
Hmm.
be and how men should operate. So for me is I come from a unique perspective of a person that have been successfully married because I think it's a difference between being married and being successfully married. Have been successfully
Agree.
married for an extended period of time. So let me ask you another question now because
Mhm.
I am very, very intrigued about the idea of what women that want a certain lifestyle or want certain men and the requirements of men that are in your position. You preferred a husband that was older. You didn't want 50-50. It wasn't enough to just get married. You wanted to get married to a quote unquote high value man. What's the,
Mhm.
in your opinion, for women that get married to a man that requires you for resources in order to be able to survive versus a man that doesn't? What should women look for as far as the differences between the two?
So I would say to young women out there, you don't have to go as old as I did. I have a 23-year age gap. It just turned out to be that my husband is very cool, also very fine, very fine. He's handsome. So for the other women out there, I would say if you're in your 20s, you can pursue men that are in their 30s because I found this out from coaching women. They weren't wanting to date men that were more than 2 to 4 years older than them. I'm like, that's
Mm,
really limiting to your dating pool. What's wrong with 10 years older, 15 years older? Now, 20, that might be pushing it for some women. But I think that women should expand their dating pools in that way. And I think we need to be honest with young women. If you're going to build something with a man in his 20s and you're in your 20s, y'all are going to be broke for about a decade. It's not going to be very fun. But if you can
mm-hmm.
stay the course and maintain that
That's
genuine
true.
desire, you can get to that positive outcome. That positive outcome where you're finally rewarded for being a loyal woman, for building that with him. But I think women and well, young people in general, they just don't have conversations about boundaries and plans and relationships. There's people that have been married 5 years. They've never sat down and talked about, what they have as boundaries in their relationship. They're just doing it haphazardly. So for young men that are wanting to build something with a woman, they should show them the plan. and show them the action steps. If you're not meeting your action steps, I can't trust the path that you're leading me on. If you're regressing, me as a woman, I'm going to start to have anxiety because, well, what's that going to mean? It's not about working for the rest of your natural born life as a woman. That's not just it's what is the nature of that work going to be to compensate for your husband's lack of work ethic? And that's why we need to encourage young men to get your little presentation together, get your little pointer, say, baby, this is what we're going to do for the next 365.
But
And
guys are
be
saying
afraid to ask
that
for that.
they want women to wait for them to become successful, in which there is no guarantee that this, because see, you pretty much got a made man, right? You got a guy that had already proven himself. He's already whatever he is. And so really you just had to get on this program. But a lot of guys are saying that, hey, I want a girl to get on my program, and a program is not really a program yet. It's really a pamphlet, right? So there's a difference when you see these women and they say that they want a guy that's within their age range or whatever, or with 2 to 3 years within their age range. Do you think that they should date older? Let's just say a woman is 23, 24 years old, right? And she knows that she wants to get married. Should she date older, or should she align with a guy and just hope and pray that the dude is on point for the rest of his life that's in her age range?
I think she should do both, right? So there's a difference between dating multiple men and sleeping with multiple men. That's a very fine line. You're a young woman, you have leverage, you should have a couple of suitors, and it doesn't have to be the scandalous thing. It's called, I guess, spinning plates is what people would call it, but I know men, it's hard for them to do that too, because men, they'll only talk to one woman, like meanwhile she's talking to several dudes. It's like, no, be an adult, because if this was an older time, that's not necessarily taboo. That's to be expected. You're a young, fertile female, and that's what you need to do. But now that's not to say to take advantage of it. As a woman, after 2-3 days, you're like, this guy is not it. Send him on his way politely and start making those decisions. And that way you can find out if you do want a man.
How do you know he's not that guy after 2 or 3 dates? Because I want to get it from a woman's perspective.
I am very in tune with my body. So I know if I enjoy a man's scent, I know if I enjoy his banter and his conversation. If I'm next to you and I feel repulsed or ick, then I know that that's just not the guy. But if I feel like warm and fuzzy and joyful, if I feel like a better person around you, that's going to be the man that I'm going to lean toward.
Okay. So you think that men, we're going to pivot a little bit, right? You think that men that are older, obviously there's a whole bevy of type of man that are older, right? You got but let's just say the ones that are successful, the ones that are trending towards a certain direction, they get better with time. What about women? As they age, do you believe that it's much more difficult for them to get out of their stubborn ways or the ways that they've hardened their heart against or for? Do you think that is much more difficult, or do you think that there's still time? Because one of the things that Kev said right before he passed away that had people all up in arms is that women past a certain age, specifically 35, are kind of leftovers. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about women that continue to age that have not yet found the man or are just deciding that they want to get married? You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No, I'm happy to answer. It's 30. That's when things start to get to a point where if I'm approached by a woman who's 30 or older, I'm like, I can't help you. I can't help you, because how do you make it to 30 and not prioritize a man or learn how to get along with a man? And men, whether they're beta, blue pilled or not, they can sense, oh, I'm your last ditch effort. He might not cognitively process it for a while, but you'll find out your 5th year in marriage when you're not sleeping with each other. You will find out. Because you asked me if women should date young men and older men. I think that comes down to masculinity, proven, trusted, and justified authority. Now, do I think men should date older women? No, I don't. It's like the longer they're on this earth, the longer they're single, the more bitter they are, the harder they are to set out of their ways. So that, I'm not sure you were expecting that.
So all right, hold on, give me a second. So should guys, let's say I'm single and I'm a 40-year-old guy, right? And I've accomplished a lot in my life, right? I'm a millionaire. I got all of this stuff or whatever. Not me, but use my age as an example. Should I date younger or should I date a woman around my age? If you had to force me to do something,
I mean,
I
that
know I
all
can do
comes down to
both,
leverage.
but what would you say? Hey, Anton, listen, this is what I need you to do in order to get the results that you want. What would you say?
Okay. And this is predicated on, being a successful 40-year-old
Uh
man,
huh.
yes? Okay. Then no, you shouldn't date older women. You should date women 25 and up. That's what I think. People can be mad if they want to. If these women wanted us to stop thinking about them this way, they could all collectively behave different. If you want us to shut up, then be nicer. Because like Big Shirley was famous for a reason. Okay, there was a reason. Don't nobody want to be around her.
So you saying that if you got a 40, then trade her in for 220s?
No, I don't
I'm
think
just
you should.
messing with you.
I
I'm
mean,
just messing with you.
like, how do you even get in that mess in the first place? Is my question. Like, maybe that man needs some more inner work.
Oh my God. You are so
Mhm.
hilarious. All right. So if you had to give a general age, right? Well, hold on. Let me pivot. So you don't believe that most women, because obviously we know that some women can, change their ways. But do you believe
Mhm.
that most women past a certain age is just like buy a dog, die alone?
Yes, it's like reading rights to the dying. You save who you can. You triage who you can. Some women are going to listen, some women aren't. The problem with women around 30 to 35, because the older you get, the more likely you are to have kids, among many other things, they won't compromise. It would be different if they were like, you know what, I'm 30, I was late to the game. Maybe a man who's a blue collar worker, who's got some kids, maybe he's making $40,000-$60,000 a year. I'm making $40,000-$60,000 a year. Together we can make six figures. Like, yeah, that sounds like a reasonable thing. And if he's a masculine leader, that sounds like something that I could work out. But they won't do it. They will not compromise, and they still think that they have leverage. Like, honey, I have leverage. Like, you do not. You do not. But it's dirty work humbling women. And I'm not trying to be mean, but they're just
No,
really
I mean I
delusional.
think that it's true, and I think that the sometimes the funniest things are true. Like I'm looking at my wife in the chat talking about Anton. Don't even think about it because she just recently. We the exact same age, but we grew up together, right? And she
Mhm.
just recently turned 40. And when we was 35, I told her, I said, "Listen, ma'am, I if you start turning into one of these old ladies that turn, not getting it together." And my chick she's very tight. Like she's staying in the
Mhm.
gym every day. She has a really sweet spirit. But I
Oh.
was telling her, I said, listen, if you turn 40, I'm gonna have to trade you in for 220s, maybe. I don't know. And so that was just a running joke. But
Mhm.
man, so there is really no hope because guys, as they continue to climb that economic ladder and they become more
Uh-huh.
successful and they get older, and they're aging gracefully as far as their lifestyle becomes much more phenomenal or whatever like that, and they have
Mhm.
more options. Women that are saying that they want this certain type of guy, it's going to be much more difficult for them, in your opinion, to compete against an A like yourself that is 25, 27
Mhm.
years old that is willing to do whatever it takes because you believe in competition.
Well, it's not that I think that it would be difficult. It's that I think it would be near impossible.
Hmm.
Like, they're chasing a fairy tale. You really need to humble yourself. I'll give you a key example. A woman I know has 5 kids from 4 baby daddies, 40 years old, kind of a nurse, I think maybe on the CNA side of things, from what I can best remember. And she ends up coming to me. She's like,
How
I
old is
actually
she?
don't. She's 44.
Okay.
44. She ends up coming to me and is like, you know what? You're right about everything. I don't know what I want. And so you start asking deeper, because the first question I ask is, well, why do you want a husband? And it's like Kevin knew exactly what he was doing down to a science. The first answer is companionship. That's the response. And so I'm telling, okay, so I have this deeper conversation. Like, all right, well, the kind of guy that would probably be in your league might be a man that's got a couple of kids. Maybe he's making 40,000, 60,000 a year. What's the next response I get? well, I earn more than that. Like, okay, I don't know what it's going to take for women to close their eyes and listen, but if they were to just close their eyes and listen, it's the sound of another woman turning 18 who already knows the game. She already knows the game. So I don't know if we can get through to all of them, but the community certainly got through to me.
What about women that earn too much money? And when I say earn too much money, I'm not saying earning a lot of money is a bad thing. Should they pivot? And because I know that instinctively, guys, I don't see a whole lot of relationships that thrive the way that mine would probably thrive when a woman makes significantly, and I'm not talking about the same amount, I'm not talking about more, I'm talking about significantly more. Women that make significantly more than the men that they're talking to or dating. Do you think, what do you think about women that make a lot of money and their options? Let's just say she's 33 and she makes a lot more money than the average man that she would be compatible with physically, right? What are your thoughts on that in a general sense? What's the first thing that
I
come to
think
mind?
the first thing that comes to mind is the professional women I know that have masculine husbands that they out earn. It exists. You can be a doctor and your husband can be, I don't know, a plumber, a carpenter, owning a construction company, what have you. So it's just looking at the other side of masculinity, because masculinity is not just cash. Like, I am very much into a man that can physically protect you, both with his body or with a weapon. And so women just kind of have to look around at, well, what's the kind of guy that I'm looking for? Because I do see sometimes women are a little bit irritated with white collar men. They don't get their hands dirty as much, and so they find that they're lacking in that area. But that's what I think they should go to. The problem is that you'll never see a rom-com about a plumber. You're only going to see rom-coms about right, about lawyers or about doctors. But it's like, these women also don't know how money works. Your plumber husband can still get you the Chanel bag and the trips to the Bahamas. He can still do it, but they're not understanding that. So I think they just need to like broaden their dating pool. Like, if I was a woman and I was an MD or something, I'd be breaking stuff around my house and trying to call a couple of repairmen, trying to like see some strategy there.
What about, let me ask you, let me pivot a little bit, right? Because we don't want to keep talking about the cackling hens. All right. So let me pivot a little bit. Do you run into in real life, because we all know that the internet is the internet and there's going to be a lot of different people that find us from all over the globe that have an opinion one way or another. Do you run into women in real life that genuinely despise or don't like the way that you move, as far as how how you've been able to transition from this kind of feminist mindset or living in a way where you felt like you had to compete in other ways like men do versus how you operate in a day? Do you run into people in real life? Because I don't.
Well, I do, but that's because I was on a college campus. So that's a little bit different. Of course,
Oh,
I'm
that makes a
gonna.
difference. Yeah.
Right, right. It does make a difference. I've had young women look at me really confused when I talk about masculinity and femininity, but they're just ignorant, because masculinity and femininity, that's global, that's worldwide, that's cross-cultural. You put the word Western in front of it, and then they start getting into like, oh, the patriarchy and da 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 da. I'm like, this is too much. You're so educated to the point that you can't get a man. Like, you have fun. I'm gonna dip out of this. But oh yeah, my female professors, I think they didn't like me the most. But if you pay attention as a student in college, I guess as a girl, there's a marked difference between your female professors with the PhDs and then your male professors. For some reason, most of my male professors were, leading their families, are relatively buff. They earned about the same or more than their wives. I've seen the other way around, but still, they're masculine men and they have feminine wives. They don't realize it. And then you're looking at your female professors. A lot of them are haggard, childless, and not married to men that they want to be with.
So
from what I can tell.
No. I don't think that you missed at all today. Like, I don't think that there's one thing that I would say that you're off about yet. Give me 11 more minutes. Well, let's do this for 11 more minutes. Let's see what happens.
You got this. Yeah, I can do it.
Maybe you too smart for your own. But see, here's the question that I really wanted to ask you, right? So you lean to your husband, right? And a lot of decisions, especially for protection from things that you may or may not know maybe good or bad for you, or you may be looking at it from an emotional perspective, because regardless of how smart you are, you still a woman, right? You still got emotions,
Mhm.
you still got feelings and all of this other type of stuff. How does your husband, or does he lean on you? Because I do glean from, I say I'm a benevolent dictator in my household. Keyword benevolent, meaning that I'm willing to, I want to glean from and learn from what she knows so that I can use that to make a more informed decision. But ultimately, the majority of the decisions lie on my shoulders. And I own that, good or bad, I own that. Do you think that he leans to you more often than not, or do you see that transition considering that you're fairly newly married, right? As far as it only being what, 2 years or something like that, right? But you're still young.
Oh, we've been together 2 years, but we've only been married since February.
Oh, newlywed! Congratulations, for real, for real.
Yeah, thank you,
Do
thank
you
you.
think that he's getting more comfortable picking your brain, gleaning from who you are as a person, your understanding, all of that other type of stuff? Do you see that happening?
Every day. I think that's one of the reasons why he married me in the first place is that he can learn from me and we do contend one another. There's sometimes where I take leadership, but it's usually surrounding social situations is where I'm like, "Hey, honey," because he got that military mouth. I'm like, "Baby, we're in public. I don't know. I don't know if you should be saying all that." He's like, that's true, true. Or if he's having some scuffles at work with his female coworkers, because he'll tell me what he said. I'm like, oh, that's probably what she heard. And he's like, oh, okay, thank you. And I help him out in that way. But mostly, I would say the only transfer of power, if at all, is the only time that my husband submits to me, because, we are commanded to submit to each other in certain aspects. It's when he's working like way too hard and he's sick and it's to the point of burnout and
Man, that
he's
sounds
trying to
like
go to
me.
work with, yeah, I know. There, don't you know it? So he'll be trying to go to work with a fever. I'm like, sir, I'm like, can you please stay home? Like, please, just let me do what I need to do because you're working against our better interests. Because it always ends up in disaster. He's always emaciated after the fact. So I would say that's kind of how the leadership dynamic can shift in my household. But for literally everything else, which is probably 95% of the stuff, it's his leadership. And it's because he's good at it. Women shouldn't submit to just any man. But if you want to find a man to submit to that's worthwhile, you're going to have to compete. Okay. So you got to pick, what do you want out of this dating market? Because if you do submit to a healthy masculine man, and masculinity is healthy, a lot of these problems that you hear from women, they're just made up. Like masculine men don't
Hmm.
make you feel small. They don't try to hurt you. They look only to protect you, only to elevate you. So you just know that when you're getting this feedback from women, they've just never had one. And I know because I got one.
Talk your talk then. Let me pivot one more time. This whole Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, we know about that. In a general
Right.
sense, what's your thoughts on, obviously we know what the results of the trial was, and the award and the jury and things like that. What were your thoughts on that as you kind of followed it, and then obviously what happened as a result of them deciding that punitive damages and all of that other type of stuff?
I mean, I think she got what she deserved, but if you look at her tweets, she's like, I am so heartbroken that the every all of the data, they just saw it and they just thought that it was my fault. I'm like, she looked like the biggest phony out there. I was watching TLA's breakdowns.
Yeah,
That
that's
man
my
is so good,
guy.
man. I wish there was another celebrity case he could cover because that's got to be my go-to from here on out. But you're looking at her on the stand. She's like a horrible actress, and you would think that a woman with borderline personality disorder, surely she would handle it better in court. Like, no, it was horrible. It was straight up white woman tears. Now, I'm not trying to bring race into it, but it is interesting. Some of the tears that be shed, you're like, Becky, like what's really the problem here? You mad you got caught? You mad? So her net worth is now negative 8 million, and I don't feel sorry. I don't feel sorry. And we wouldn't have found out because Johnny Depp is a very private man. Now, he was wrong in many respects too. Like, I don't care how good the kitty cat is. Like, you couldn't pay. Like, no, you needed to walk away, sir. But I guess you can see some of the things that he sort of allowed to go on and things like that. But we wouldn't have found out had it not been for her writing the article, which in a sense defamed him. She never named him, but it was implied because she was married around that time where she had just gotten a divorce. Had she not done something like that and cost him his Pirates of the Caribbean career, this heifer would have been terrorizing all of Hollywood.
Yeah,
I
we would have never
can't.
known. You are exactly right. Honestly, me personally, and I kind of gave my thoughts on it yesterday, I don't think it was enough. I don't think that, I think that they should have awarded him even more, because I've always believed that when you say believe all women, already that's a red flag for me, because you can't believe all of anybody. I don't even agree 100% with anybody that's in my life. Like, it's something that I disagree with somebody about. But it's a dangerous precedent to set, because it sets up a lot of failure. And as I see a lot of guys and they're getting out of jail for things that they was accused of, or you can just see a woman accuse a guy of something or say, hey, he did this to me, and then that's the end of the conversation. That's a very dangerous thing. And I always believe that if somebody accused you of something that you didn't do and you wind up suffering for it, whether it be financially or whether it be, criminally, I think that you should suffer the same consequences that he has to go through if they find out that you are lying. And so when I think about it, back to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, the fact that he lost this franchise, that's a lot of money. And it's much more than what he even tried to sue her for, let alone what he was awarded, regardless of the fact that they found her, you know, liable for slander and all of this other type of stuff and ruining his career, so on and so forth. I don't think that it was enough that they awarded him in order to make sure, or to set the standard that people should not be, or women should not be doing this to guys in society.
Mhm. Well, the thing about it is that a lot of people have short memories. I want to think that this case is going to change things in the long term, but I really don't think so, because for every Amber Heard, they're like, I mean, I'm thinking about my upbringing, the way I grew up, my neighborhood. There's like 10 crazy baby mamas out there just making men's lives hell. So I would like to see that trickle down, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's why we have to have platforms like this, where you talk to people about the real deal, because some of the stuff that women do, they're only doing it because the law allows them to. It's absolutely female privilege, and it's the kids that end up suffering at the end of the day because of that too, because I think that was another reason why he had to come forward as well. He cares very much about being a father, and there were pictures that came out with her with a black guy, and so he was forced to
Oh,
address
I
this
wasn't
because,
aware of that.
yeah. Because his kids were coming out and saying on magazines, "Oh, like my dad punched this lady in the face." So
Oh my
we
God.
gotta do something about these broads. They're horrendous.
Well, listen, I know that you have a lot to do throughout the day. I don't want to take up your whole day. I have a
Thank you.
flight to catch, but you are welcome to come on this platform anytime you want to. And in addition to that, if you need anything from me, I got your back. You know how to get in touch with me.
Aw, thank you, thank you,
Is there anything else
Sharita.
that you
You
want to
made us
say
whole.
prior to jumping off the platform? Any parting words? I do want to say, before you do that, I do want to say that I want everybody to check out her channel. The link is in the description. Check out her Instagram, check out her TikTok. Make sure that I know a lot of people are going to be restreaming this and things like that. She is awesome. She is very smart. I think that you are the prototypical woman, especially with your sentiment and your spirit, and how women should be operating in 2022. And I'm very much encouraged by seeing people like you starting to have a platform and speak up, instead of all of the negative naysayers and the hyenas and the people that have all of the worst things to say about men and relationships in general. I think it's a breath of fresh air to have you on this platform. And so I plan on having you back, hopefully sooner rather than later. I know that you got a lot going on. I'm not about to tell all your business and all of that, but hope to have you back sooner rather than later. What are your thoughts, final thoughts, before we jump off of the live stream?
I would say thank you so much for having me on the platform. I really appreciate it. This is tough to follow up on, though. But I would say you can find me on Instagram at RealFemSapien. You can find me on YouTube at RealFemSapien. If anything that I ever say to the women that watch, to the men that watch, if it ever triggers you, I'm never saying these things out of malice. I'm genuinely saying it out of love, because what I'm trying to do is leave a better generation behind. The best way that I can see it is by keeping a father in the home. And I think that we can do that by giving women the tools to marry their first choice. If you marry your first choice, it's a no-brainer. You're typically going to end up having that positive feedback loop behind one another, and that'll follow into reducing children's risk for child abuse by 50%. So if you can get on board with that message, you can check out my content, share it with your nieces, share it with your mamas, because we got some that need saving out there too. You share it with your aunties, and yeah, I'm happy to help.
Listen, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the platform. You are a joy. And I think that you're going to be super successful. Don't forget about us little folks as you ascend up the ladder.
Little folks, I don't buy it. Not with that coat. No, thank you. We got that watch too. He's fronting. Thank you.
All right, love. I'm going to talk to you later. I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah. See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that is my homegirl, A. Again, make sure you guys follow her on Instagram, TikTok, and then check out her YouTube channel in which she has some really, really awesome, dope content. Some of it just recently broke the internet. Super dope. Next time that she's on the platform, maybe I'll allow you guys to cam up and ask her some questions because, again, I like to be very, very selfish with my friends. However, I am willing to share them with you because you guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you to all of the super chats. Anton would love to see her on the Lapeef show on Thursday. We'll see. We'll talk about it. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And I want you guys to make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. I got a flight to catch. I got some business to take care of. And then I'm going to make sure that I continue to hit y'all with this dope content every single day. Link to the Patreon is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And then in addition to that, if you need to kick it with me personally, you know how, Anton Daniels 413 at gmail.com. And we're going to continue to rock out. I will see you guys on the next show. As a matter of fact, y'all see y'all tonight on Lapeef Let's Talk. But I'll be doing it from Miami. I'm going to holler at y'all later.